Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll probably get started in a couple of minutes. Just wait and see if anybody else joins online or joins us in person. So just give us a minute and we'll get started. And we'll start off with quick introductions and then proceed into our agenda.
Good morning.
All right, I think we're going to get started. Again, thank you for joining us. This is sort of the Project Advisory Committee meeting for the NVCOG's development of an active transportation plan. It's been a little while since we have met. We've had some staff changes here. The person who was responsible for putting together the project, left. So just taking some time to sort of reboot the process, but we are working on it diligently, and we're hoping to make some good progress this spring, and hoping to get the plan wrapped up fairly soon. What I'd like to do is just start with some introductions. Maybe we'll go around the room quickly. Who's at the office? I'm Mark Nielsen, Assistant Director at the NVCOG. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Pipa. I am newer to the transportation team here, assisting with the active transportation plan, and I'm a planner on the team. Nice to see you all.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Roberts. I'm with the active transportation unit at the Connecticut DOT. Happy to be here and work along with you as we develop our state's active transportation plan. Do you want me to?
Yeah, why don't you just talk real quickly about where you are on that?
Yeah, so we started our active transportation plan with our consultants HDR in mid to late 2024. It's a 2-year scope project, so wrapping up in 2026, hopefully. Right now, we're focusing on the existing conditions report, which we should be wrapping up and coming out with soon. Collecting a lot of data, GIS data. We've been going out, many of you might have attended or heard about. We've gone out and done some public outreach. We went to Stamford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Norwich, Hartford, and forgetting the last one, Torrington, and talked to the public about the plan and got a lot of feedback. So we're moving along with the existing conditions and hopefully have that out soon. Some of the next steps, we got a lot of pop-ups scheduled, and we're going to be doing regional tours with the COGs, having you guys highlight for us different areas of concern in terms of active transportation. And yeah, that's a little brief overview of what we've done so far. So happy to be here.
And just, for everybody's information, we will be coordinating with the DOT quite extensively on our work. So, we want to work in a way that's supplementary, compatible, so that we can, get something that actually can get built and done. So that's our sort of goal. So
Sure.
Continue with the introduction.
Danny Thomas. I'm the new GIS analyst here at NVCOG. Happy to be here. And right now working on a couple projects mapping out various transportation facilities.
Aaron Butters, I'm the Environmental Planning Director here at NVCOG. And I'm very involved in the Greenway planning and especially the Naugatuck River Greenway.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ty Olale. I'm a transportation planner here at NVCOG. I manage the active transportation micro grant. And so that's basically what I do.
All right, thank you. And then if we just have everybody online, just go through very quickly who they are and what your interest is.
I guess I'll start first. Grayson Wright, with CT Dot, Intergovernmental Affairs Unit. I am the department's coordinator, with NVCOG.
And I'll go on. I'm Jack Walsh, and I'm co-chair of the advisory committee for the Naugatuck River Greenway. And my background shows you one of the successful projects that was recently completed for active transportation and pedestrian safety. That's the Derby Shelton Bridge.
Thank you, Jack. How about Jim? Jim Jenks?
Yeah, thank you. Jim Jenks from Cheshire with the town council. And I've also been actively involved in trying to make Cheshire a bit more bike friendly over the years. We've actually just signed with a firm to do a multimodal plan for Cheshire. Just signed with them the past week or so. So over the next year, we'll be hopefully coming up with a plan to to make Cheshire more bike friendly, more pedestrian facilities, and also perhaps some additional public transit, hopefully with a bus line to the north end. But so that's kind of where we are. I'm eager to hear about what's been happening with the regional plan and how we can perhaps incorporate that planning work into what we're doing here.
Good, thank you, Jim. Sheila?
I'm Sheila O'Malley, City of Ansonia, sometimes Town of Seymour. I'm thinking to myself, I must have volunteered to be on this committee. I'm also serve on the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee for the COG, and I have worked with Aaron on various segments of the Riverwalk, and so this is very interesting to me, and appreciate the time everyone's giving.
Thank you. Natalie?
Hi, everyone. I'm new. I'm Natalie Shirtliff. I'm with AARP Connecticut. So some of you may have worked with my predecessor, Anna Dragazi. So I'm new in her role the last 10 months or so. So AARP Connecticut focuses a lot on pedestrian safety, safe streets, complete streets, all of that. So thought that I would join in this work as well, giving our perspective on this. I have to admit that I am not a resident of Naugatuck+Valley. I don't spend a lot of time there, so I'm a little bit less familiar with it, but I am happy to be joining this and looking to you all for the local support.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate your participation. Just, you don't have to be a resident of the region. I think your perspectives on pedestrian safety and, the needs of older persons is valuable, whether regardless of the region that we're dealing with. All the issues are pretty much the same, so your insights are definitely, we're willing to listen and incorporate your thoughts into our plan. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary Barton. I'm the land use inspector and prospect. This topic just interests me, so trying to learn what's going on.
All right, thank you. And then the last one, Tucker.
Hi, I'm a regional planner over at WestCog, and also a resident of Waterbury.
So you're more interested as a resident of Waterbury or WestCog?
I'm here as a resident of Waterbury, but WestCog is also interested.
Yeah, no, and it's good to get again, local perspectives, and somebody from, especially the city of Waterbury. A lot of challenges in the city, so it would be good to, get your insights, so definitely appreciate your participation. So, and, just to, before we get into the agenda, this is a project that got started probably a year and a half or so ago. And we're gonna go through some of the first things we're gonna talk about this morning and just sort of recap review of what we have done. But it is something that sort of got delayed, and we're hoping to really re-energize the activity and move it forward. So with that, I think the first step is I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who's going to give us a review of where we're at and some of the work that has already been completed. Kate?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I know that this group has met twice before as an advisory committee, and through the work of the group has come up with a vision statement. So quickly, for folks that may be new or just need a reminder, this is what the group has come up with, and it was adopted by our TTAC committee. So the Naugatuck+Valley Active Transportation Plan will advance NVCOG's goal of mobility equity by investing in a regional active transportation network that ensures walking, rolling, bicycling, and other forms of active transportation are viable, convenient, and safe options for all users, regardless of age, ability, and income. And then just to, as Mark mentioned, do a quick recap of some of the meetings we've had and the community engagement pieces we have done. The group met in November of 2023 and then again in April of last year. We were able to hold a couple community meetings beginning of last year, one in Waterbury, and then one in Bristol at the library in April. I know there was a virtual meeting. I don't believe there was a lot of attendance there, but we did have it, and this was really a place for us to gauge what folks were feeling, where they want to see active transportation options, where they feel certain things weren't safe. So we do have a nice list of certain streets, intersections, places where people voice that we should pay some attention to from those meetings. And then there were a couple community engagement events actually out on the trails here in Waterbury in June, and then at the Derby Greenway as well. So we hope to keep that going. I think once we have some ideas for future solutions and such, we would like to do some more walk and talks and events in the community to get some feedback as well. So we can look forward to doing some more of that when the weather does get a little bit nicer. And then a big part of what we were doing last year was this active transportation survey. We had it open from February to November. I do bet a lot of folks here probably took it or helped to share it, so thank you for that. As you can see, we did get a lot of responses from certain municipalities such as Southbury, some from Bristol, Derby, Naugatuck, Ansonia, and Waterbury. And then a handful from some of our other communities as well. And I'll just quickly go into the survey recap. I know I sent a PDF around with the more extensive responses. There were some parts where folks were asked to give their opinion on what they'd like to see. And we won't go through all of those, but the PDF was attached and you're welcome to look through those. But for now, I'll just do a quick overview. So we did have a nice distribution of folks by age who responded, though we did get a lot of older adults as well. Almost a good split between the gender split, though it did skew female. And then you can go to the next slide. As far as race, a lot of white or Caucasian responses, though our communities can be pretty diverse. I don't think we saw that response and who was responding to our survey. And then same with the income as well. So as far as how frequently do you walk or roll? So folks seem to be majority walking or cycling, rolling at least several times per week or daily. Which I think was very telling of the work we're doing and why folks are showing that they do like to get around by active forms of transportation. And I think that's why we're addressing what we're doing. How often do you how do you most travel to work? So as you can see, mostly folks drive alone. A good majority of folks are not employed or in school, or work from home. But I think as one of our goals is to reduce the vehicle miles traveled, providing alternatives to driving alone and reducing those vehicle miles is something we're actively working on. So this plan will provide an important pathway to trying to achieve that goal. You can see there's actually not a large amount of folks that actually bike and or walk to work or take public transportation. So those numbers are quite low by the folks who did respond to this survey. And again, the survey is not a representative sample of our region. It was folks who were willing to take the survey, and so just keep that in mind as we go through the responses. Which destinations would you be most likely to bike? So as we look at our future conditions and what types of connections we want to focus on, a lot of folks want to be able to get to parks, playgrounds, or open spaces by walking or biking, and or shopping, going to restaurants, commercial districts. They also indicate wanting to visit family and friends. And then to a lesser degree, going to work or school or medical appointments or other. But do remember, a lot of folks indicated that they're not in school or working, so that could be not a high priority for those groups of people. Next, folks shared why they bike. Majority, overwhelmingly, exercise and recreation. But then you do have folks that did choose to bike to get to work or school and or shopping, running errands. And then a handful did say it is their primary mode of transportation. Next, how often do folks bike? A lot of folks said never. And then a handful said daily, while there's a good amount that bike a few times a week, once a month, or less than once a month. So again, a lot of folks do indicate that they don't actually bike. What is your comfort level while riding a bike? So the top is the folks that feel the most comfortable, which is the least amount of people, even if there wasn't a dedicated bike lane or shoulder. And that kind of does correlate with statistics that are out there that says roughly 3 to 5% are comfortable biking without bike lanes or protected bike lanes. Again, roughly 1/5 of folks said that they would feel better if there was a dedicated bike lane or shoulder. But then even more than that said that they would need a separate protected bike lane. A good amount said that they don't feel comfortable biking, but they would. And then just over 100 people said that they're not interested and are capable of riding a bike. And then again, this is just about the challenges of walking, rolling, or biking in your community. Vehicle traffic and speeds was the top response, or that there are no or few bike paths to where I want to go as the second highest response. You can see that the third highest is split between bike lanes or paths that end abruptly, and then sidewalks that are poorly maintained. As well as then there are too many hills. And then just a handful said that influences such as crime or taking too long to get where they're going, or they just don't want to. But again, a lot of folks are saying they want to. There's just some barriers in place, whether it's from drivers of vehicles or the infrastructure and the bike and or sidewalk network. Did ask what would make you more willing to walk, roll, or bike. And as you can see, more multi-use trails, more sidewalks or more accessible sidewalks, and then safer facilities such as crosswalks or protected bike lanes were the top 3 responses. And then this is the part where people were asked to suggest what would also make them more willing to walk, roll, or bike, and we did get a really several hundred responses. So please do, if you would like to learn more, we're going to be taking these comments into account from the survey as well. So also thank everyone who did fill that out or share it. Thanks. All right, going on, I'll pass it back to Mark.
All right, thank you, Kate. Again, as you can see by the survey results, we got a lot of information, and it is going to help us inform our work going forward and identify what actions or projects we'd like to recommend within the plan. The one thing to keep in mind is this is a very comprehensive plan. And so we're not really focusing in on any one specific group. You know, we're looking at everybody. So as Kate mentioned, the comfort level for bicyclists to the region sort of depends on, you know, your level of expertise or experience in riding. You know, more advanced riders are comfortable on the road. Less experienced riders, you know, do prefer the protected facilities. So, you know, we're going to do a much deeper dive into the data and, like I said, help it inform what we're going to go propose going forward. The other thing is on the survey, it was also linked to an interactive map where people could drop a pin on where they saw an issue or a concern. So we're going to be looking at the mapping as well, to see if there's like any hotspots where we really want to focus in on our work. So going forward, I'm just going to go briefly on where we are on the existing conditions report. We've sort of completed some of the initial chapters of the plan, you know, talking about the vision, the goals, purpose and needs, the regional profile, which is just going to be, you know, talking about the makeup of the region. But the existing conditions is really going to identify the baseline, you know, where are we starting from and where do we want to go. The first thing I just wanted to mention here is, I know Kristen mentioned DOT has a survey they sent out to the towns, and you know, we've sort of have been pushing for towns to do that. I just want to make one you know request from the committee. Just if your town hasn't completed it or you don't know about it, let us know, because we would like to get 100% response from our region. So just, you know, just put that out there to, you know, make sure that your town has completed that survey. And if you need any information on it or need another copy of it, just let us know and we'll get that to you.
I'll quickly jump in. I'll let you know who did respond.
Okay.
So we have Bethlehem, Cheshire, Oxford, Plymouth, Southbury, Thomaston, Waterbury, Watertown, and Wolcott have all responded. Otherwise, we have our 10 other municipalities we would like also to respond.
And again, we are here to help, you know, if you need the help completing it or, you know, need a copy of that survey. So, you know, just that, you know, before I get into anything, just that request. Basically, the existing conditions is going to be looking at these items that are on the screen. We did look at the Bike Walk Connecticut scorecard, which is a fairly high level index of what the, you know, conditions are currently in a lot of our towns. And so we are going to be looking at data as sort of like the baseline and then going forward. We're going to do an evaluation of existing on-road bike facilities throughout the region. Admittedly, there are very few so far. We're trying to identify anything that are there. And also looking at what conditions within the region, you know, are challenging for people who to ride on the road. Our region tends to be a little bit older, so the urban makeup, narrow road, so it makes it, you know, a little bit more challenging to ride on the road. Commercial development, a lot of curb cuts is a challenging feature. We have grade topography issues, because we have quite a few hills, that, may prevent people from riding or willingness or. So we're gonna be looking at all the on-road, type of facilities that are either out there or where there's possibilities. Our region, next is the road separating multi-use trails. Our region has been pretty aggressive in trying to get a few greenways, built into trails. Cheshire is home to the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which is the Cadillac version of trails in Connecticut. It runs from the Haven up to Northampton, Massachusetts. So it's fairly complete. There's only a few gaps that remain. So it's what we're going to be striving for in the other parts of the region, primarily the Naugatuck River Greenway Trail, which is about 44 miles that we're looking at, and we have about 9-10 miles completed, but it's really disconnected. And, our goal is to really try to connect that. So that's going to be talked about as one of the main conditions, the existing conditions. Pedestrian facilities, many of our downtown areas, we're going to look at those. What needs to be upgraded? What's missing? What we can actually propose that will make walking in the downtown area is safer and more attractive and more convenient, which then leads into, some of the ongoing complete studies that we've already are looking at. We did a study for the Route 229 corridor in Bristol and Southington that looked at some of the active transportation needs there. We're doing a planning corridor study in Woodbury on Route 6, which is also going to be focused in on some of the active transportation needs. Route 64 in Middlebury is another study that we're working on that, again, we'll be looking at the needs of walkers and bikers. And tying this all together is we're going to do a fairly comprehensive safety assessment. We extracted crash data that involved pedestrians or bicyclists from 2019 through 2024. So we've got 5 years worth of data, which is quite substantial. And we're going to do a very deep dive into that safety assessment. I'm going to show a few slides in a second on that. But just want to talk about complete streets. The region is planning on putting together a complete streets policy that we're hoping that our board will adopt as something to strive for. And basically, complete streets means that we're going to be making sure that our streets and roads can accommodate all users, not just motor vehicles. The idea is that that street environment is just not for cars, it's for anybody. And so we want to make sure that environment is as safe as possible. And a lot of our road projects that we're working on now, we try to include complete streets elements as much as possible. And there's a wide range of tools that we can use to do this. And what we select as a complete street action, will depend on the context of the road and the improvements we're proposing. So that's in the works as well. So, that's Rich. Rich.
Working on it.
So I just wanted to show a few tables on the safety assessment. Like I said, we've extracted the crash data from the Yukon crash data repository, and these are some of the numbers we've come up with. I'm going to go through pedestrian involved crashes and then bicyclist crashes. Over the last 5 years, 961 crashes involved the pedestrian. That's a very sizable number. It's 150, 160 per year. And that number is too high and unacceptable. So we're going to be looking at the data and see what some of the factors are. What's contributing to these number of crashes. Next. This is by the data just broken down by municipality. The key data point here that really gives us a concern is Waterbury. As you can see, 63% of all the pedestrian involved crashes occurred in the city of Waterbury. Roughly 100 a year. And again, very unacceptable. And we're going to be, really doing a deep dive to try to see what can we do to reduce that number, because it is unacceptable. And because of the built-up area of the downtown, a lot of people are walking, and so some of the number of crashes really relate to, correlate to how many people are out there actually walking. We got to make sure that they are safe, so we're going to be looking at what is currently out there and what needs to be improved. Next. And then this is the other real key factor we want to look at is the severity. Unfortunately, when a crash involves a pedestrian, it usually involves an injury. Speed's a factor, but the fact that pedestrian is unprotected, they get hit by a car, or it usually causes some severe injury. We had 47 fatalities over the 6 years of the data. Again, a number that is just way too high and not acceptable. Almost 90% of all these crashes involve some kind of an injury. So very alarming and cause for concern. So that's something we have to rectify. Okay, next. So this is the bicyclists involved crashes. Far fewer. We had nearly 1,000 pedestrian crashes. Fortunately, only just over 6 years, 220. Again, somewhat consistent. Year over year, it's about the same number of 35 to 39 crashes. So there's some consistency there. Again, we're going to be looking at location factors, possible causes. We want to look at, is it sort of bicyclists not riding correctly, or is it drivers not paying attention that there's a crash? So we'll be looking at that next. Again, same thing for by municipality. Again, Waterbury, crashes in Waterbury are overrepresented. And I think that is a function of the land use development and narrow roads, a lot of on-street parking, a lot of commercial development. But again, we'll be taking a look at, are there things we can do to reduce the number of crashes? One piece of, with Jim on the line, there's quite a few bicycle crashes in Cheshire, given relative to its size and population. And again, I think part of that is due to the fact that the Farmington Canal Greenway passes through town, so there's probably a lot more people in town riding, wanting to access the trail. So we're going to try to look at access points to the Farmington Canal and seeing how we can improve that access and make it a little bit safer. But again, we'll be looking at the locational factors as well. So
I think most of the crashes are around those crossings with the trail.
Yeah.
I think.
And again, I think if we look at it, we might be able to see, some good solutions and say, hey, yeah, if we make these improvements, we can, have a fairly substantial impact on reducing that number. So, yeah, we'll be looking at that pretty closely. And next. And whoop, went too far there, Rich. Back up. And again, the idea is the severity is something we want to rectify. Compared to pedestrian crashes, we only had 2 fatalities that involved bicyclists. Again, still unacceptable. There should be 0. So, we want to reduce that. But serious injuries aren't as great either, compared to pedestrians, but, still, bicyclists are vulnerable when they're riding. And, usually the crash that involves a bicyclist does involve some kind of an injury. So, again, we want to be able to try to reduce this. And again, how we do that is probably through, improving the trail system, because, when bicyclists and motorized vehicles are separated, less likely that there's going to be a crash. Crossings of the trail, and a road, making better connections that way will help reduce it. But just trying to accommodate, bicyclists on road also can, improve wider shoulders, better delineation of the shoulder and bike area. So again, we'll be focusing on those features. So, like I said, a lot of data, we're going to be going through it pretty extensively. I think right now, in terms of formatting of a report, the plan itself is going to have a fairly almost a summarized version of the safety assessment, but we do want to have a more in-depth, either as an appendix or as a separate report. So anybody who really wants to look at the data in much more detail can, but we're not going to actually, have all this data into the plan because it, may not be of interest of everybody. So that's sort of what we're thinking of. Okay, next. All right, at this point, just any comments, discussions regarding, the past efforts that we've made and where we're going on the existing conditions.
On the collection of the bike data or bike usage data, was there any kind of attempt to sort of parse out e-bike usage versus kind of regular pedal bike usage?
No, the problem we do have a fairly extensive use collection on our trails, but the counters that are installed are infrared. So what they do is, they just look at the heat signature of the person or whatever's passing in front. And unfortunately, they can't differentiate between somebody on a bicycle as a pedestrian. And so we're not going to be able to get the e-bike usage. We are planning on doing, and we have done, maybe Aaron can elaborate a little bit more. We do manual counts in some locations where we have the trail counters out. So we can sort of compare, the counter will say, yeah, there's 50 people who used to, pass that point, with a 2-hour survey. We can then look at the manual and say, okay, 10% was bicyclists and, the rest were all pedestrians. We can, differentiate and identify whether there are any e-bike users or e-scooters out there.
Yeah, well, I think it would, I don't think, well, we certainly don't ask people to differentiate between e-bikes and bikes, regular bicycles, when they're doing the manual counts. We can probably do that with our staff that's going out. I think it might take more of a trained eye. I think they're, originally e-bikes were really easy to spot, and I think they're getting less and less easy to spot now. That's definitely something we could do this year as we're collecting data. I think that's not a bad idea.
And the issue is becoming, a few years ago, there are a few e-bikes out there, but I think it is becoming a much more popular mode, and a lot more people are opting for an e-bike. If anybody who's ever gone to Manhattan, because the city has fairly extensive bike lanes on, especially in Midtown, and a lot of people were using bicycles and they had a bike share program. Started out as pedal bikes, and now more and more they're all e-bikes. And I know the last time I was down there, I was amazed at the number of e-bikes that were on in use. A lot, they outnumbered, and the issue becomes conflicts. Because the person on an e-bike can go faster, and so there's greater speed differentiation between, somebody walking and somebody on a regular bike and somebody on an e-bike. It is posing some safety concerns, so it might be something to look at a little bit more closely.
I have one question. Does, on the crash repository, there's no
No, there is
indication?
not, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. And I'm not sure if that is something they could collect, but it's I mean, it's good that we're actually getting some data on, crashes that involve bicyclists, or, to have the responding officer indicate whether it's an e-bike. Again, that's might be a little bit much to ask for them to do at the time.
Yeah, I understand that, for sure. It's, I mean, e-bikes are, sort of the real opportunity, I think, to get more people to use, to use them as real transportation. Obviously, you can cover a lot more ground much more quickly. You can actually, carry things in an e-bike that you wouldn't necessarily carry on a pedal bike, and it's much less effort. And I think with the combination of the e-bikes and with real infrastructure, we would see in these surveys, where people are asked, how comfortable do you feel about, riding a bike for transportation? We're going to see these numbers really go up a lot more. I was kind of encouraged by the numbers that you guys presented earlier here, as far as how many people, are willing to, if given the infrastructure, or even if given looks like even some minimal infrastructure, you might have a lot more people using bikes. But when you bring e-bikes into the equation, it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And with that opportunity comes some challenges. And again, I think part of it is education, especially on the trails. As you get more people using the trail, and more people of using walking versus bicycling versus an e-bike, the consideration of alerting people that you're coexisting on that trail. So, as a bicyclist is, passing somebody walking, that they announce that they're passing them, so you're aware of it, not surprised. And same thing with like an e-bike, just they are a little bit maybe, I don't know, more silent, or maybe I don't know, but as people are using these facilities more and more, there's a need to be more considerate on that trail, and making sure you're willing to share, and you have to share that space. So that's going to be part of the education process. Anybody else have any comments or anything in the chat? I should have mentioned that. Oh, okay. So anybody else have any comments or points they would have raised at this point? All right. Again, we're going to be wrapping up the existing conditions report probably. I'm hoping by the end of March. And what we'll do is provide everybody a copy of the draft, and you can read through it and make comments, additions, and suggestions, to that. But right now I'm aiming for completing that by the end of the month. So keep an eye out for something next couple of weeks. Okay. All right, so the next thing that we did want to talk about is sort of the anybody has ideas, what do we want to see going forward? Like I said, the existing conditions sort of gives us the baseline. The safety assessment gives us an idea of is it really safe out there, or, what are the challenges? What we would like some feedback from you is, ideas. These are sort of the areas that we want to sort of focus in on in our recommendations or implementation section. What are the opportunities for an on-road bike route network? There's a lot of roads out there in the region. What makes sense? And what we're looking at is sort of an interconnected network. So you can get throughout the region, if you wanted to, on a designated bike route. Ideas for completing the multi-use trails that are in the region. Like I said, I mentioned the Naugatuck River Greenway Trail that we're actively working on, but there's a Middlebury Greenway, we'd like to see extensions of that. We have the Larkin Trail State Park, how we can make connections to make that accessible from different points on the region. Watertown is working on the Steel Brook Greenway. Can we make extensions to the other trail systems? And the longer term vision is Farmington Canal and Naugatuck River Greenway run parallel, north-south. Is there a way of connecting those two major trail systems? And then looking outside our region, is there a way of connecting the Farmington Canal Trail to what efforts in Meriden and Middletown and Portland to connect the airline trail to the Farmington Canal Trail? There, NVCOGCT, which is one of our sister organizations, they sponsored a study looking at what they call the Central Connecticut Loop Trail that we are participants on. But again, the concept is trying to connect these major off-road trail systems together. But again, a key focus is going to be pedestrian enhancements. We're going to be looking at our downtown areas and seeing where our problem areas are. What's needed? Do we need better crosswalks? Pedestrian signals, curb bump outs. There's a wide range of actions that we're going to be looking at. Anything and everything that will help our people who want to walk downtowns or walk from point A to point B, they can do that safely. And again, we want to identify early action, midterm actions for implementing complete streets throughout the region. Again, those are the types of things we're going to be looking at going forward. So give some thought. Any suggestions you may have, don't hesitate to reach out. That's sort of the old adage, no suggestion or is too crazy. We want to hear everything, because even it could be a longer term, but long-term actions to actually read an early action if it makes sense. So anything that you can think of, please provide us. Right. So with that, anybody have any initial ideas or thoughts that you'd like to share?
Good.
Okay.
All right. So thank you everyone for attending. As Mark mentioned, in the next couple of weeks, we will circulate what has already been compiled for the plan so far. We would love your comments. So if you have some time to look it over, read it, offer suggestions, we'd greatly appreciate that. And then the other thing is for the towns, especially for folks that are involved with our TTAC committee and anyone who might be able to have us reach out to our towns to respond to the state's active transportation survey. It's great that the state will share those results with us, and that will help inform our existing conditions. If there's who's in charge of the bike walk planning from each municipality, and if towns have any plans in place or complete streets work, we're looking forward to seeing those results. And I just want to mention, I I'm from Shelton. I recently spent a year in the Netherlands for grad school. And it was really encouraging to be in a place where I could walk outside, hop on a bike, walk down the street, and it was very much built for cyclists, for pedestrians. The car wasn't the main, I guess, form of transportation. So I'm really encouraged that we're doing this work here. I'm from here, I grew up here. So I am excited to be working on this and look forward to working with all of you. And then again, the next piece we will be doing is public engagement. So we look forward to suggestions on potential events that we could do, pop-up events, where we could do some more walk and talks out on our trails or on a nice sidewalk. So I think next meeting, we can kind of plan more of those to get out there in the community again. The meeting we did suggest, considering this is the second Wednesday of the month, we thought maybe next month we could also meet on the second Wednesday if there wasn't any major concerns. So if that date doesn't work, let us know. But for now, I think that might be our next meeting, April 9th at 11 a.m. again. Does anyone else have any comments before we wrap this up?
Nope, thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, we're here, so reach out to Kate or myself, if any, comments or any other information. So, and also, if you think of anybody else who would like to be, who might be interested in this project, don't hesitate to invite them to the meeting. You know, anybody is invited, and, you know, we appreciate any of their input and, you know, so if you know of anybody who might be interested, you know, please let them know.
All right.
And with that, again, thank you and talk to you all soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.